You're live.
Hi everyone, it's lovely to welcome you here for the second night of our summit. This is one of the very first pelvic health summits in the whole world.
Just this year, we've taken legal action against 24 companies and governments, including
Not sure what's happening there, Mahesh.
Europe's largest plastic plant in court, challenging the UK government again.
Could be your YouTube.
It's not my YouTube, I don't think.
Taking food giant Danone to court over plastic pollution.
I don't know what that is. Okay, I don't know what that is. Sorry guys, I'm really poor at tech but really good with bodies, and it's lovely to see you all here. This is, as I was saying, the second, there always has to be something like that for me to go, whoo. This is the second day of our summit, and I am very, very excited to welcome you to this more movement-based and also we're going to do some release work and have some fun tonight here with your bodies. You may not be in a position to try all of the exercises out tonight, but or today, wherever you are in the world, but you will get a recording of this, so you can go back through the exercises when you want to. So, a little bit about me. I'm Abby Lord, and I'm a master trainer in Hyperpressives. I have been coaching women for over 12 years and training trainers for around 8 of those years. I am one of the content creators at Moonrise Health, and I also have my own company in Scotland. I am also a founding member of the International Hyperpressive Council, which is an international company to set gold standards for hyperpressive training throughout the world. I was very lucky to be invited to be part of Moonrise right at the very beginning when it was women's cycles, and together with Mahesh and Philippa and all the other practitioners, we've built it to be one of the most amazing holistic online platforms you could ever imagine. Inside are so many different modalities that you can do safely with pelvic floor dysfunction to help you heal. So a little bit about me before we get started properly. So I am, as I said, Abby Lord. I am the mum of 2 boys, and I had 3 prolapses, and I've healed them all. So I had a bladder prolapse, I had a uterine prolapse, I almost forgot the name, and I also had a rectocele. And I have used hyperpressives and movement and mindset to help heal my prolapses. I refused to be told that you couldn't heal naturally, that you had to go through a surgical operation in order to heal your body. And I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to things like that. So my mindset was very much of a, you can do this. At Moonrise, and within all the healthcare provider, all the healthcare, alternative healthcare for the pelvic floor you're going to hear about in the summit, we all come from the same point of view that it is very much a holistic alternative way of looking at pelvic floor health. There are lots of different things. Pelvic floor dysfunction doesn't just come from childbirth. Childbirth is an event that can help, that can create more dysfunction, but you may have already been suffering or had some potential for dysfunction in your body. Lots of different ways you can create dysfunction in your body. So there's lots of different things that can happen. You can have an illness. It can be genetic a little bit. It can be through injury. It can also be through emotion. And I know that last night in the summit, there was a lot that you guys did around thinking about the emotional side of things as well. So it's not just about movement or posture, but also about mindset. So I think that's enough about me. So I'm going to move on, and I'm going, hi guys, hello. And we're going to get started with tonight's session. I guess I'm curious about people's bodies. So when I meet you, or when I meet one of our clients within Moonrise, then I look at the whole of you. And at Moonrise, we look at the whole of you too. We've got what we call the HEAL method. We look at you holistically, your whole body. We empower you. Then we help you find alignment and then we help you find liberated movement. So, for our first exercise tonight, to help ground us all, wherever you are, whether you're sitting down or standing, or maybe lying down in your bed, depending on what time of the day or night it is with you. I'd like you first, if you're standing, to find your feet on the floor. Underneath the big toe, underneath the little toe, and underneath the heel. I'd like you to balance your weight between the inside and outside of your foot as well. If you're sitting, I'd like you to sit and feel your sit bones underneath you, and make sure that you're evenly weighted on your sit bones. If you're lying down, I'd like you just to relax where you are. You can have your knees bent or legs outstretched, but I'd like you just to feel the connection of your back of your rib cage and your pelvis on your bed or the floor. We're going to take some nice breaths. We're going to use a little bit of box breathing. This helps us to slow our breath down, and it also helps to combat any anxiety and helps us to find a grounding. So we're going to inhale for a count of 4 in a moment, pause for a count of 4, and then exhale for a count of 4, and then pause for a count of 4. And we're just going to do this through 3 times. You might want to partially close your eyes if you're safe to do so, and just really feel your rib cage expanding with your breath. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in more detail later. So, taking your time, inhaling through your nose, and for me just today, it'd be lovely if you could exhale through just a relaxed jaw. I'm going to explain about that too in a moment. So ready to inhale. In, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. And just regular inhaling and exhaling again. So if you'd like to put your questions in the chat, then I will pop over and we'll have a little chat as we go through tonight's session. What I was thinking about doing was starting with each part of our body and working from our feet up and explaining how your feet, your pelvis, your rib cage, your jaw have an impact on your pelvic floor. And just working through a little bit of release work that's nice and gentle for us to do. So if you're able to, for the feet one, we're going to come to our feet just for a moment. You have 250 to 300,000 nerve endings in each of your feet. These nerve endings share the same nerve root as your pelvic floor nerves. So if we want to pre-activate your pelvic floor, then if we're wanting to start moving it and mobilizing it and getting it feeling all nice and juicy, then we can start with your feet. Yes, it does. So when I said pause, Mia, it does mean to hold your breath. We'll come back and revisit that as well. So we're pausing the breath in between. Sorry, I should have been clearer. I apologize. So we will come back. Let's actually, do you know what? Let's just do that exercise again one more time. And let's just go through twice this time. So it's because it's a really lovely exercise. So we're going to inhale for 4. We're going to pause, holding the air in for 4. Then we're going to exhale for 4. And then we're going to pause, holding the air out for 4. And then we're going to repeat twice through. So ready to inhale. In, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 2, 3, 4. And just back to your regular inhale and exhale. That's the box breathing is an amazing breath to use if you're feeling a little bit anxious. It's really great at calming your nervous system down. And you can actually do it very mindfully by imagining a box in front of you. So as you inhale, you think about the top line of the box. As you pause, you think about the side. As you exhale, you think about the bottom line of the box, and as you pause, you think about the side. And it's just a really good way of focusing your mind as well. I shouldn't have rushed through that quite so much, Mia. And I'm just going to have a wee look. Yes, I do, Vanny. We'll come back to questions in a minute. So let's talk about feet. So our feet are just amazing. They've got lots of different nerve endings in them, lots of different muscles. And so we're going to do a really lovely exercise you can do in the shower, watching TV. You can do it almost anywhere that you've got your shoes off, sitting on the toilet as well. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to try and lift our big toe up. Just use one foot. Try and lift your big toe up independently of your other toes. Okay? At the same time as you lift the big toe up, I'd like you to try and lift it towards the opposite foot, not towards the foot that it comes from. Then, hi Janet, I'd like you to lift all the toes up, and I'd like you to place just the big toe down. Good. And the same thing again, we're trying to pull it towards the opposite foot and press it down lightly. Then we're going to lift all the toes up and press just the little toe down. If you've rolled your foot over like this, I'd like you to keep the little toe down and try and roll the foot back so it's still evenly weighted. Then lift all your toes up, and here's a tricky one. Place your big toe and your little toe down and try and keep the middle three up. And then shake it off. And we're going to do the same on the other side, and then I'm going to come and see what your questions are, and then we'll move up to the next body part. So stretch the toes nice and wide. We're going to try and lift the big toe up. Good. Now this took me a while to get. When I first started, my toes were all crunched in like little cloven hooves, my husband used to say. So this is about a practice, and the more mobile our feet get and toes, the more mobility we're going to have in our pelvic floor. So lifting the big toe up, then lifting all the toes up and placing just the big toe down. Then lifting all the toes up and placing just the little toe down. Remember, if you've rolled it over, roll your foot back and try and keep the little toe down. Then lift all your toes up. Here's the tricky one. Big toe and little toe down, trying to keep the middle three up. I've still got a toe that doesn't want to straighten out after all this time. And then shake them off. Excellent. And the final little bit for this little session, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take the top of your foot and place it on the floor. And you can do this in sitting as well. This actually stretches this area of the leg, but also helps to open into the hip flexors. So that's this area of our body here. And then swap to the other side. Can we do both feet at the same time? Yes, you can do both feet at the same time, Cynthia, definitely. And stretching out as well. Okay, and then shake your feet off, and I'm going to come and check in and see what questions we've had so far. Hi. Oh, Carol, it does. You get it eventually. It really does. Can we do both feet at the same time? Yes, you can. How to join those classes? Vinny, I'll get back in touch with you. Yes, Mia, being barefoot does help for that one. So, have you got any questions that you'd like me to answer so far? Or shall we move up to the next body part?
Hey, Abby. Hi. So there's one question here.
Yes.
Hi, guys. From Jackie. This is a little bit more theoretical. When you say you healed rectus seal, does that mean you reversed it? What stage was it, please?
When I hear, so my rectus seal was a stage 2 and quite problematic. So I used to have to, so I hated splinting. So splinting is something we have to do with rectus seal. So what you do is you put your fingers in your vagina and you push the back wall of the vagina in order to be able to push kind of the excrement poo over so it will come out. I really hated doing this. So I used to I'm really quite hypermobile. So I used to sit in loads of different positions on toilets, or, it's like weird squat positions to manage my rectus seal. My rectus seal is now about between a 1 and a 0.5, and it's not symptomatic. So a big thing about healing is, and I think this came up last night as well, a massive thing about healing is that what healing looks like for you may not be a complete reversal of your prolapse. It may be that the prolapse becomes completely unsymptomatic, so asymptomatic, so you'll have no symptoms at all. and it won't bother you ever again. So I think I'm at that stage with my rectocele where I'm completely, you know, I don't have any symptoms, and it's a 0.5 to 1, but your body's amazing, and I have, you know, it may be that my rectocele, with all the work that I do, may continue to resolve itself over time. So watch this space. I am now in menopause, and it hasn't worsened. Nothing has come back. My uterus is still really high. My bladder is still where it should be. So I've had no recurrence of the issues that I had. So I had a stage 3 bladder prolapse, a stage 3 uterine prolapse, and a stage 2 rectocele. And the uterus and bladder are back where they should be, and the rectocele is almost. So yeah, hope that answers that question.
Actually, I just have a reflection.
Yep.
If you don't mind. So yesterday, Jackie, I don't know if you joined us yesterday, we spent a lot of time talking about the grades and symptoms. So if you have some time, go back and watch that. And we also spoke about not calling it my symptoms. So I'd recommend you to go back and watch day 1, the Jackie recording from YouTube. You'll get some more perspectives on what Abby said.
Good. Yes. So I mean, the thing with stages of prolapse as well. Some people can have just a stage 1. They could go to the doctor and be told you've got a stage 1 or it's negligible, and that's, you know, perhaps a gynecologist telling you that. But you could have immense symptoms. Whereas I have clients who come to me who are stage 2, stage 3, who have very few symptoms. So the way your body, the way you and your body and the prolapse are, is very much a personal thing, as is the healing journey for you. So your healing journey will look different from my healing journey as well. For me, birth was the childbirth was the event that created the trauma. However, I, before that, did a lot of high impact exercise, and my breathing was very out. So when I came to Hyperpressives, I couldn't use my ribcage at all. My ribcage was like locked shut. During pregnancy, my ribcage was really far forward. I was really flared here because it was so tight, it couldn't do anything else. So the posture patterns and posture tensions I had prior to pregnancy had an impact on my body during pregnancy and didn't support my pelvic floor during birth and during the postnatal period. And then straight after the postnatal period, I went back to doing, I thought 6-week check meant I could do whatever I liked. So I charged straight back into like 100 sit-ups a day. Seriously, about 100 sit-ups a day. Burpees and all the things that I used to do prior to pregnancy. And that's when I noticed my prolapses. So yes, afterwards. But the event was the birth. I already had the dysfunction beforehand. So quite often we think that it was something we did wrong during birth, or perhaps we didn't do the birthing right, or perhaps it was because I had an illness and I coughed so much. But there's every likelihood that the dysfunction was already there. I always say there's like 3 things. There's like posture, a life event, and emotions that go into creating the perfect environment for prolapse. Yes, so enterocele can be very symptomatic for some people, but again, for some people it perhaps isn't. Okay, so, and I'm going to answer this other question as well. So we look at holistic ways to use your body. So we look at, instead of having an external thing that we use, I'm coming to the M-Sala chair, that's where I'm coming to. Instead of having an external thing that we use, so i.e. surgery, Kegelizers, M-Sala chairs, I'm going to talk about them in a minute. What we look at as practitioners is using your body, using your mindset, using movement, and using meditation, and using rest and relaxation and release to heal your prolapses. An M-Sala chair, what an M-Sala chair does is it creates a deep internal vibration. And I have used one a couple of times, and it was a very interesting experience. But again, it is something that you have to go and pay for and do with a practitioner, rather than being a tool that you learn yourself to do with your own body. So, yeah. Yes, so we're going to talk about breathing and posture just now, because this is part of tonight's session as well. So I'm just going to have another quick look at the questions, and then I'm going to come back and do a couple of other exercises to help you with that. No, I never used estrogen, estradiol, or medication at all. No, not at all, not during this healing process. Okay, cool. People are getting ads. So let's come back to our bodies for a moment. So we looked at feet, and a couple of things about feet, just while you are where you are. If you are someone who favors the outside of your feet when you're standing, this is going to have an impact on your pelvic floor. If you're someone who turns your toes in the way, this is also going to have an impact on your pelvic floor, because what it does is it stretches the posterior part of your pelvic floor and tightens the anterior. And if you're someone who walks like this, you're tightening the posterior, so the back of your pelvic floor, and widening the front. So one thing you can start doing right away now today for your pelvic floor is to make sure that your feet are pointing straight ahead. They're evenly weighted side to side and front to back. So that's the first thing. So that's my first tip for you. Yeah, Mahesh has turned it off, hopefully, so it'll hopefully help. So the next thing that we're going to look at is your pelvis. So a lot of us, when we have pelvic floor dysfunction, start to grip with our pelvis. So we may posteriorly tilt, tucking our tailbone under to try and create safety in our pelvic floor, or a feeling of being safe and trying to hold everything in. This posture pattern, what this does is it creates tension and tightness in the pelvis. Your pelvis is like your pelvic floor organs, your bladder, your uterus, your rectum. These are actually all suspended by ligaments and softened or cushioned by fascia. If we hold it really tight, then these ligaments and this fascia don't get enough movement, so they start to dry out and feel dry and less juicy. And we need them to be as juicy as possible. So this is an exercise that you can all do. And you can do this when you're standing, waiting for shopping. You can do this waiting for a cup of tea, or you can do this in the shower as well. You could do all of these in the shower. So feet evenly weighted. Grab a standing position if you can, wherever you are just now. And what we're going to do is soften our knees. So not bending them, but just softening them. Good. And then we're going to do a figure of 8. So we're going to turn our pelvis. So we're going to imagine that your coccyx, so that tailbone that tucks under, is a pen, and it's pointing down towards the floor. And I'd like you to imagine that coccyx drawing a figure of 8 on the floor. So you're going to move your pelvis in a massive figure of 8. Excellent. So what this is doing is it's creating a movement pattern that helps to keep your pelvis nice and juicy and release any tension. So we're pushing forwards, we're pushing forwards, we're pulling back. We're doing a little bit of a hike as we come forwards. There's lots of different movement patterns happening here. And then we're going to reverse it and go the opposite direction. This is a great movement to get you to release some of the tension in your pelvis. And you can do it anywhere. So the figure of 8 also replicates some of our gait patterns, so our movement when we're walking, which is so important, because when we have prolapse, we start to walk a little bit like this. So we're trying to hold everything in. So we start to walk in a kind of really unbalanced way. So it can feel difficult to start with, Mia, yeah. So what this does is it replicates the walk pattern, the hike of the hip, the push forward and the pull back of the pelvis. These are all movement patterns when we walk. So this really helps with walking and also helps with pelvis mobility. Okay, so let's have another look at a couple of your questions, yeah? My hips just don't jive. Put some music on after this and try it with some music, because it really does help. Good. Any other questions at the moment about this? One leg slightly longer because of a curvature. you can still do a figure of 8. So yeah, and your body will be getting used to adapting to that as well. Okay, so we've talked about a mobile pelvis. So we want to have our pelvis as mobile as possible, and we want to try not to tuck our tailbone under. We want to try and find a neutral. Now, we don't want to hold it tight in neutral. We want to kind of have an awareness of where neutral is. So we release with a figure of 8. And then when you're just standing, it could be in a queue at the supermarket. What I'd like you to imagine is that you have, this is a weird one, by the way. Quite a few of these are weird. I'd like you to imagine that you've got a torch shining out of your vagina. If you are tilting your pelvis too far forwards, your torch will be shining behind you. And if you're tilting your pelvis too far back, your torch will be shining out in front. So we want your torch to roughly shine in between your feet. So have a little think about how that feels. And if you're sitting, try and find that torch shining straight down as well. So sit bones on the floor, torch shining straight down. Good. Okay, that's a good question. So I'll come back to that one about high heels just now and shoes just now. So that's a great question. So let's come back to that one too. So remember, torch for standing in a queue, figure of 8 for releasing tension. And this should help you to get away from this gripping of the pelvic floor. So, okay. Yes, belly dancing, definitely. So let's talk about shoes. So shoes have a massive impact on our pelvic floor. If we're in high heels, so there's lots of research these days to say that when we go into a plantar flexion like this, then what happens is we kind of switch off or disengage our transverse, our big abdominal muscles a little bit. And in order for us to have proper function in our pelvic floor, we kind of want the transverse muscles working in coordination with the pelvic floor and the legs, because everything is attached. So the best thing for feet, especially for prolapse and for pelvic floor dysfunction, is to have shoes that have the lowest drop on them you can, that are comfortable for you. Barefoot shoes are not always accessible to everybody, because sometimes you need a little bit of extra arch support initially, and sometimes you just need a little bit more, less impact on the ground when you're walking to start with. But you can get really, so you want to have the smallest, less, like 0 heel if you possibly can, on your shoes. And there's quite a lot of different, see, look at that, that's my old posture pattern. There's quite a lot of different shoes on the market that you can use, but you are trying to get ones with a nice wide toe box, so your toes aren't scrunched into a little triangle, and you want to also have ones with a low heel drop on them. Cool. And just checking in with some more messages to see. Hi, Marchment Physiotherapy and Sports Injury Clinic. Yeah, you should come and see me. Yeah, we should meet up. That would be amazing. Yes, Philippa's belly dancing is a great modality to use as well. And if you were here last night, I'm pretty sure that's been shared as part of your gifts as well. So we have mobile pelvis, mobile feet. The other thing to mention about your posture, because we are talking about posture as we go through this, are your knees. So for a lot of us, I don't have this with my hypermobility, but a lot of people who are slightly hypermobile, very hypermobile, tend to do this and push their knees back. And quite often this is their way of finding stability in their bodies. And what this does, you can see, is it anteriorly tilts my pelvis. I've lost anything going on in my belly. It's just like, oh my God, what's going on? And I've also started to thrust my rib cage forwards. So if you are someone who hangs on the backs of your knees here, interestingly, this is called your popliteal. It's my nerdy anatomy thing. So what we want to make sure is you've got soft knees. So try not to lock your knees out when you stand. Try and check in and make sure they feel a little bit loose and released. Make sure you've got that pelvis torch shining out. So we've done this part of the body. Okay, questions? Yeah, there's lots of people suggesting things for shoes. Cool. Excellent. Liliana, you had a question. Okay, overwhelmed with 3 different issues. Stage 1 rectocele, stage 2 uterine prolapse, stage 3 cystocele. Yes, hyperpressives will help heal all 3. The amazing thing about hyperpressives is this. Hyperpressives help you to, one, start balancing your posture so that you are no longer out of kilter with your posture or out of alignment. Two, hyperpressives start to get you to use your breath to help you to engage your pelvic floor. And we're going to move to the ribcage in a moment so you can kind of experience what I'm talking about. If we have good mobility in our thoracic area, so this is your thoracic area, if we have good mobility in the rib cage and great mobilization and function and tone in our diaphragm, which is here, I'll talk about the diaphragms just now. If we've got good function here, then that means we're going to create better function in our pelvic floor. We have something called transverse diaphragms in our body. So we have one underneath our rib cage, we have one in our pelvic floor, we have one in our throat, and we have one in our head as well. Oh, and the soft palate of our jaw. So we have lots of transverse diaphragms that are like floors almost in our body. And we want them all working together simultaneously, almost like they're moving up and down like a wave. And the way we get them to work together is to mobilize initially the rib cage and the diaphragm. So we're going to talk about this now because it will really, really help you get started. It's a great thing to have. While doing hyperpressives, is it good to flex pelvic floor muscles too? No. So the important thing about this is that when I'll talk through the breath just now for you so you can really understand it. Because if you're to hold tension or to do a Kegel while you were doing hyperpressives, you would be creating too much resistance here so that you won't get the proper mobilization of the pelvic floor. It would be like putting a big weight here and then asking the body to work with that massive weight instead of allowing the natural function to happen. Stage 4 prolapse, I'll come back to that in a minute. Yes. Okay, so let me explain why hyperpressives is so good. Let's do that because these are all questions about that. Hyperpressives work on this pretext. When we widen our rib cage, like we're widening it like an umbrella, starting with the lower ribs widening, this creates a descent of the thoracic diaphragm. The central tendon, so we've got tendon inside, contracts and descends down. When it does this, when we widen our rib cage and the central tendon moves down, our pelvic floor does a similar movement. Our sit bones, so that's these bony bits underneath us here, and our coccyx, the tail that curls underneath, does a reciprocal movement and widens a little during the inhale. What happens with our pelvic floor is our pelvic floor extends. Then, as we exhale and close our ribcage gently down, just allowing it to drift back to its natural resting place, the diaphragm underneath here lifts up and our pelvic floor contracts back in. So every time we breathe, if we breathe well and we've lined our body up beautifully, we extend and contract. So we go into eccentric movement, which is the extension, and then we go into concentric movement, which is the drawing back in, we don't squeeze. So in hyperpressives, we're looking for our pelvic floor to extend and then come back, extend and come back the whole time we're breathing, which means that every time you breathe, you're helping to create better tone in your pelvic floor and better function in your pelvic floor. So we don't want to be holding loads and loads of tension. So if you were to do a Kegel, a traditional pelvic floor exercise, you contract. But we don't think about loading or moving in the extension. So if you're already holding tension, like you've tucked your tailbone under, or perhaps you're gripping from your upper ribs, then what happens is you're already holding tension in your pelvic floor. So it's already here, say. It's not fully contracted, maybe it's here. And then you do a Kegel, and it comes to here. And then you release, but your release is only coming to here. And then you contract again back to here. And then every time you're walking around, you're holding it here. So we never train our body in this full eccentric pattern, our pelvic floor, which means when we sneeze or cough or run or change directions, our pelvic floor is not used to loading or being mobilized in its full length. So what the breath does is it starts to teach your pelvic floor how to eccentrically load and concentrically. So we move backwards and forwards. And this is such an amazing thing that your body can do. So we're going to practice that just now. So I want us to release our rib, I'd love us, not want us, I'd love us to release our rib cage. And then I would love us to do a couple of these breaths and kind of zone in on what we're doing. So if you're standing, you're going to be standing, remember your feet evenly weighted, knees soft. Remember that torch shining out your vagina. Okay, and then we're going to look at the ribs. So I'd like you to grab your rib cage. Hands towards, and you can do this if you're lying down too. Fingers to the front, thumbs to the back, so you can feel all the way around. We're going to the bottom of our rib cage to where we've got much more mobile ribs down here. And you can feel a little bit of your abdominals here too. So now as we inhale, I'd like you to think about your rib cage widening all the way around, like an umbrella opening, like this, but all the way around in a circle. And as you exhale, I'd like you to allow your rib cage just to settle back down. You can stand or sit, yes. So we can either stand or you can sit. If you're sitting, I'd like you to sit with your sit bones directly underneath you, and you're looking to have your rib cage directly over your pelvis. If you're standing, I'd like you to stand, remembering that torch, and I'd like you to bring your rib cage so it feels like it's directly over your pelvis. Good. Then we're going to start our breathing. So you're going to take a nice deep breath in, inhaling, widening all the way around. Inhale through your nose. And exhale through a nice relaxed jaw. Take another breath, inhaling. And then exhaling. So we're not trying to force the rib cage closed. We are mobilizing and widening the rib cage and really focusing on trying to widen it as much as you can all the way around, and then allow it to gently fall back down. The inhalation, as we inhale and widen our rib cage, that will create a reciprocal movement through muscle and fascia, which is our connective tissue activation, into our pelvis. And as you inhale and widen your ribs, your coccyx will flex out a little and your sit bones will widen a little. It's not massive, it's small, but it's enough to create that eccentric loading in your pelvic floor. And then as you exhale and allow the rib cage to slowly drift back down, your pelvic floor will contract. So let's see if there's any questions. Feet flat on the floor, yes. Strengthening the way our body is supposed to breathe. Yes, exactly, yes. So taking your time, let's do a few of these. I'm asking you to exhale through a relaxed jaw, because if we hold tension in our jaw, then we hold tension in our pelvic floor. And we want the pelvic floor to move with the rib cage. So if it's tense, then it's going to be much harder for it to find that eccentric load and concentric. So take your time, feet flat on the floor, hands nice and relaxed around your ribs so that you can feel what's going on. And you should feel an expansion to the sides and an expansion into the back of your ribs. Good, and then exhale, allow it to gently close. While you're practicing, I'm going to check some questions. Yes, so the coccyx, moves as, it's lovely to see you here, Pilates bien-être. Sit with feet on the floor. Yes, so the reason it's making you yawn, this is really interesting. So if any of you are yawning, when I first started teaching Hyperpressives, my classes would yawn, and I was like, oh my God, maybe I'm really boring. Maybe they're not, oh no, what am I doing wrong? Then I learned that as we yawn, it's a release of our nervous system, of our vagal nerve. Your vagus nerve is this amazing nerve. It's called vagal because it's a wandering nerve, but it's one of our big cranial nerves. So it comes out of your skull and it comes down through the back of your throat, and then it separates and it makes move or innervates most of the organs in our body. So when you yawn, what you're doing is getting a release of your nervous system, taking you out of what we consider parasympathetic nervous system into more of a out of sympathetic nervous system, more into parasympathetic nervous system, so more into rest and relaxation. So if you're yawning, that's a really good thing. Hi, Crystal. Nice to see you. It doesn't, it's great that you're here. So, hands around our ribcage again, feet hip distance apart, or if you're sitting, sit on your sit bones, feet flat on the floor, and make sure they're evenly weighted. Then hands around our rib cage. We're going to take a nice deep breath in, inhaling, and then exhaling. Now in hyperpressives, guys can keep breathing. So in hyperpressives, we don't just look at the rib cage and the pelvic floor and the feet. We also look at the neck and the head and the eyes. And the reason for this is, I think it's for every 5 centimeters, well, it's every inch. So every inch your head comes forward, if you're in a forward head position, every inch it comes forward, it adds 10 pounds of weight to the rest of your body. So it becomes 10 pounds heavier for every inch it comes forwards. So that is meaning that you've got a lot more strain into your lower back and into this whole area here, which means that your back muscles are not going to be able to support your pelvic floor from above anymore, because they're going to be working so hard to support your head. So we definitely work on trying to bring our head back over our shoulders. And the way I cue this in hyperpresses when I'm coaching it is this. So we start with our feet, evenly weighted, and you can do this in sitting too. We find our pelvis, we maybe do a little bit of figure of 8 and then find our torch. We find our rib cage on top of our pelvis. And then we imagine we have our eyes gazing straight towards the horizon, chin horizontal to the floor, and then we think about listening to a conversation behind us. You know, like when you're in a restaurant or at a bar and somebody's saying something really interesting and you're nosy, we're all a bit nosy, and we're listening, you want to try and listen without them hearing that you're listening. So you should, if you draw back, still keep your chin horizontal to the floor, eyes gazing straight ahead, but you should feel maybe a little bit of light activation or work up the back of your neck, which is perfect, because what that's doing is helping to re-engage those muscles to hold your head in position in a good way. And if you do this and you feel like you're getting a double chin, over time the double chin will go as these muscles here, which is actually a big piece of connective tissue and fascia as well, as these muscles start working again. Because as your head comes forward, these guys stop working and get a bit flabby. And as you get it working over your shoulders again, they start to engage. Okay. Yes, you've got to make sure, be really cautious about your feet as well, Yes, the conversation behind. Cool. So, we're almost beautifully lined up. The next thing is shoulders. So we can carry so much tension in our shoulders. So we want to make sure they're nice and relaxed. So in all the hyperpressives work we do, shoulders are super relaxed. Even when we're stretching, we're thinking about reaching away, but keeping the shoulders nice and loose. So there's no buildup of tension in our bodies. We want to feel like our bodies feel quite loose, but active. So they're in great alignment, so they're working in the right way. Talk about eyes in a minute. I'm going to give you a really weird exercise to do in a minute too, to help release tension in your necks. So yes, absolutely. So your posture definitely changes over time as you practice. I used to have my knees were really out towards the sides like this. And I definitely was a rib flare. So I stood like this all the time with my knees out towards the sides. So my posture has definitely changed over time. And all of my clients as well, all of them, their posture changes. So one of the first things people notice about them is the change in their posture. You get taller. With hyperpressives, you actually get taller because we do a lot. In all the classes, we do what's called active lengthening, where we feel like we're pressing our heels into the floor and reaching our head away. So we're lengthening the spine. And with each exhale, we think about getting a little bit taller. And so everybody grows a little bit as well, which is nice, especially when you're short like me. Good. Yes, it will change permanently. It takes time for you to build poor posture patterns. So it'll take time for you to build great ones again. But then once you keep practicing and keep doing your regular 10 minutes a day practice, your posture will always be great. And you'll become more aware of it as well. And you'll also know how much posture impacts your pelvic floor. Yes, there's lots of stuff within Moonrise, and there's lots of stuff within Philippa's YouTube channel as well. But in Moonrise, we have whole courses dedicated to you learning about posture. Within our 12-week cohort program, we go through mindset, posture, hyperpressives, everything. So yeah, we go in a lot more detail than I can tonight. Sorry, I'm just going to check in with the questions again. So yeah, so a big thing about menopause, so that's a good question. A big thing about menopause is the shift in hormones and what happens with our body. For a lot of us, especially if we breathe, our upper chest breathe is up here. And if you're somebody who tends to breathe with your upper chest, like, or something like that, that was quite exaggerated. But if you tend to bypass using your rib cage and breathe up here, then what happens is as your ovaries stop producing the hormones, they're supposed to do a lovely gentle shift over to your adrenal glands, and your adrenal glands are supposed to take over the show. However, for a lot of women, we're in adrenal fatigue. So perhaps we've been working and bringing up a family. Perhaps we've got a high pressure job and we're expected to care for elderly parents. Perhaps, there's so many different reasons why we might be really stressed out. And then our breathing gets even more upper chesty. What this does, though, is it bypasses the amazing massage we can get of our adrenal glands if we breathe into our rib cage. So even if you were to not exaggerate the rib cage breath, the way that the lateral costal breathing that we do in hyperpressives, even in general everyday life, we should be mobilizing the lower ribs as we breathe. And the reason for this is, as we mobilize the lower ribs, our diaphragm descends. As our diaphragm descends, it massages the top of the adrenal glands, it massages the top of the stomach, and as this diaphragm draws down, it also draws the heart down because it's all attached via connective tissue. So your heart sits like this on top of your, so this is my diaphragm, this is my heart. And as I inhale and use my rib cage and draw my diaphragm down, my heart draws down with it. And as I exhale, my heart draws back up. So we're getting a gentle massage for the heart muscles. We're getting a gentle massage of the adrenal glands at the back here. And we're also getting a gentle massage of the top of the abdominals. And we're also getting a gentle massage of our lymphatic system. So if we want to have a smoother transition through menopause, then learning to do the 360 costal breath is one of the greatest ways for us to manage anxiety, so that anxiousness you get, manage sleep, and also manage the transfer of hormones from the ovaries to the adrenals, help to smooth the way. So yes, it's a great thing to use. When breath out, belly go in. Okay, so as you inhale and widen your rib cage, the abdominal muscles should widen all the way around like a corset opening. As you exhale and allow the rib cage to close, the abdominal muscles should draw in like a corset closing. So that's the way around the breath should go. So we're not pushing the belly out in front. There's actually, interestingly, not a single muscle in your belly that's designed to push straight out in front. We have what's called the deep transverse muscle that wraps all the way around, and it attaches to the bottom of our ribcage and the top of our pelvis, and it's designed to do that corset movement. We've got the obliques, the external and internal obliques, and they attach to your ribs and come down towards your pubic bone, and they're designed to move up and down like this. And then we've got the rectus abdominis muscles that help to create this length and support for the spine. Not a single muscle is designed to push out in front. They are designed to work like a corset though. So they're designed, so as we inhale, you should feel the abdominals moving to the front, to the side, and to the back evenly. And as you exhale, you should feel them coming back evenly as well. Okay. Honestly, the hyperpressives and learning how your body works is one of the most empowering things. You go from feeling that I used to feel that I was broken or that I'd failed in some way, that my body was different from other people's bodies and I'd done something wrong. And it was the darkest place I've ever been. Hyperpressives and learning that mobilizing your body, learning to breathe well, learning great posture. So really simple things. Great posture. Breathe really well. Take time to take care of yourself. Find safe movement patterns that you feel safe doing in your body. Visualize healing. I cannot get away from enough. The mindset is such a huge part of this healing journey. It's massive. So we're thinking good thoughts about ourselves. We're doing good things for our bodies. We're giving ourselves time to practice every day. And we are slowing our breath down. These are all super, super important things for us. And in that way, we can really safeguard both our pelvic floor and the rest of our body. The way I describe pelvic floor dysfunction is this. Your pelvic floor has probably, until whatever event created the symptoms, has probably been taking one for the team. So you've maybe had poor posture patterns like I had, and your pelvic floor's gone, right, it's okay, Abby, I'll support you while you've got this silly posture pattern. And then when the events happen, my pelvic floor's been damaged. And when it was damaged, it then can't take one for the team anymore. But the rest of the team hasn't been working well. So then everything starts to break down. So the way to help the pelvic floor become part of the team again and to heal is to make sure the rest of the team is working well. And your pelvic floor is connected to your feet. Your pelvic floor through nerves and through muscles. Your pelvic floor is connected to the inner thighs. These inner thighs feed into your pelvic floor. Your pelvic floor is connected to your deep transverse muscle. It starts right down by your pubic bone and comes all the way up to here and wraps all the way around. Your pelvic floor is attached to your obliques. Your obliques come down and attach in, connecting with connective tissue to your adductors. Your pelvic floor is attached to your back muscles. Your big back muscle attaches into your bottom muscles. Your bottom muscles feed straight into your pelvic floor. We are so interconnected that we can't just think about the pelvic floor as a solo operator. We can't just exercise the pelvic floor without thinking about what's going on with the rest of the team. And once you guys start to get the rest of the team on board and start to think and really believe you can heal, and then start breathing well, and then start adding in movement, whether that's hyperpressives, belly dancing, whatever it is that, floats your boat. Once you connect all of this together, then your pelvic floor has got a chance to heal. And it will heal as part of the team. You won't necessarily need to even think about the pelvic floor healing as long as you get it connected back to its team again. When I teach about pelvic floor dysfunction and when I teach clients, I rarely talk about their pelvic floor. I talk about the rest of the team. How are you feeling? What are you doing for yourself? What meditation are you into just now? How are you thinking about positive thoughts? How are you standing? How are you breathing? These are all the questions that I ask and I look for in my clients when I'm training with them as well. So, holding that thought in your mind, I'm going to see if there's any more questions. Oh my goodness, well done, Nini. Yes, give yourself, if you're thinking about having surgery, if you're thinking about having surgery, give your body 6 months to a year of holistic, well thought out, well taught exercises before you go forward with it. Give your body that chance to do something there's no going back after surgery. But you can always do surgery later if you choose that that's the route you want to go down. But give your body the chance and the tools to heal first. And there's Philippa, there's Dr. Bree, there's Trista, there's so many people, there's Kim Vopney, Lavinia, you've got so many women who are sharing their modalities and their healing stories and their methods within this summit, that there's going to be something that you really spikes your interest and makes you go, oh yeah, I can heal and I will heal. And that's one of the big things we're looking for. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So next, We're going to talk next. So your neck is a massive part of what goes on with your body. And people, a lot of my clients a lot of my ladies who come see me, use their big muscles here. They're called the scalenes, and they use them to breathe. And there are secondary muscles. So quite often they breathe a bit like this. I'm really exaggerating, but they use these muscles up here and lift the rib cage straight up and then down, up and then down. And the shoulders will join in too a little bit. I'm really exaggerating. And what we're wanting to do is drop it down so we're breathing into the lower ribs and opening them like an umbrella. But if you have been doing this for a long time, your neck can start to feel tight, you can get headaches, and lots of other things. So we're going to do a cool exercise now. And you can do this wherever you are. So first, we're going to test. I would like you to look over one shoulder. So you're just going to look over your shoulder. And I'd like you just to check how far around you can see. I'd like you to check if you've got any tension in your neck or soreness, where it is. And then I'd like you to look over the other shoulder and do exactly the same thing. Good. Look over your shoulder. Notice where you feel anything. And then look back. Now, I'm going to come sitting so you can see what I'm doing with my face. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to keep your eyes looking straight ahead. And I'd like you to stick your tongue out in front of you. So, and in a minute, I'll show you and then I'll explain and then I'll get you to do it. So you're going to stick your tongue out. And then you're going to move your tongue over to one side, keeping your face pointing straight ahead. And then you're going to move your tongue up and down like you want to lick your ear from the top to the bottom 7 times. And then we're going to do the other side and then stick it out and then pull it back in again. And then we're going to retest our neck. So let's go for it. So ready? Stick your tongues out. Over. Up and down. And then to the front. And over to the other side. Up and down. Out to the front. Back in. Wipe the slobber off your face. And then retest. So you're going to look over your shoulder again. And just notice if you notice any difference. And then come all the way back and look over the other shoulder. And just notice if you notice any difference. And then come back to the front. So that's an exercise that you can do as many times as you like. And it's a really lovely one to help you if we're starting to work on drawing your neck, your chin back, your head back over your shoulders. It's a nice one to release that tension. And it also, of course, helps to release the tension in your pelvic floor if you have any. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that one. Are there any more questions about any of this? Yeah, it's great. It's a really good exercise. Not mine. I can't remember where I got it from. I'll have picked it up on the way. So let's talk through all those body things we were talking about just now and just go back through them. And we can do it sitting and standing. So these are things you can think about all the time. You're going to think about your toes, lifting your big toes up, placing your big toes down, placing your little toes down, lifting them up, placing big toe and little toe down. You can practice that anywhere. Now, pelvic floor. Yeah, the more you lift it up and down, the more you'll feel a difference. For the pelvis area, remember we want knees soft. We don't want to be locking our knees out. This is not great for your alignment. Pelvis, we want to have as much movement in your pelvis as we can. So you can do figures of 8 or you can just do big circles. And then when you're standing, feeling that kind of balance or freedom in your pelvis and think about the torch shining down. Next, the next tip is to make sure that our ribcage is not flaring forwards, but is sitting a little bit back. So we've got our ribcage directly over our pelvis. We want to make sure we're not pulling our ribcage too far back or too far forwards. And we can think about this like a bell. So you can put your hands around your ribcage. We've got a nice balanced pelvis. And if you push your ribcage forward, it's like ringing a bell forwards. And if you tilt your ribcage back, it's like ringing your bell backwards. And we want to have your bell so it's ringing directly over the top of your pelvis. Good. You can move it a little bit from side to side too, just to create a little bit of freedom. Okay. Next, your shoulders. You want to always make sure your shoulders feel nice and relaxed. And you can just do a little shoulder roll for that, backwards and forwards. And then for our necks, we can use the tongue exercise, or we can just look over your shoulder. Notice where you can see to, and then use your eyes to try and look a little bit further. This is one you can do in public more. And then look over the other shoulder, and then use your eyes to look a little bit further, and then come back to the center. Another tip for you guys is to always think, so we've got our head over our shoulders, ears, shoulders, hips, pelvis. Pelvis, feet. So we always want to feel like we've got all of our diaphragms nicely balanced, one on top of the other. Okay, and then feet evenly weighted. And then we're going to do a little bit more breathing. So I'd like you now to take your hands and just place them back around your rib cage. Nice. Now, so fingers to the front, thumbs to the back. Good. And now I'd like you to make sure your feet are nice and evenly weighted. And if you're sitting on a chair, I'd like you to make sure that your sit bones are evenly weighted on the chair and rib cage is over your pelvis. And now we're going to do another little breathing exercise. So this time we're going to inhale for 4. So this is a great exercise to help you go to sleep at night if we do it one way, and to help you get up in the morning if we do it another way. And it's great for helping you slow your breath down. So we're going to inhale for a count of 4. We're going to pause for a count of 7. And then we're going to exhale for a count of 8. As you exhale, I'd like you to exhale through just a nice relaxed jaw. And the pause is where we're going to hold the breath. So we're going to inhale for 4, hold the breath in for a count of 7, then exhale it for a count of 8. We're going to do it once this way and once the other way. So hands around your rib cage. Ready to inhale. In, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the way to wake you up, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the apnea breath to finish, and then we'll talk as well. So the way to wake you up, you're going to do exactly the same thing, but then as you exhale, you're going to place the back of your tongue on the roof of your mouth and make this sound. It's supposed to sound like the ocean. Like that. Okay, so you can try that. So hands around your rib cage. Ready to inhale. In, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Okay, so I'm going to have a little chat with you about the apnea breath, because we don't teach it to people unless that we can get eyes on them in some way. And there's a real reason for this. There's quite a lot of contraindications, and not so much what we're doing in our breathing for hyperpressives is this. As we inhale and exhale, we're helping to manage the pressure in our system. So if we imagine this is a pressure canister from here to here, as you inhale, we're widening the rib cage and we're creating more volume and space for the pressure. As we exhale, we're creating less volume for the pressure. So we're moving from massive volume to little volume, and we're moving in and out and kind of up and down with lots of things going on. When we do the apnea breath in hyperpressives, what we do is we create our pause. So we do 3 breaths: inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, and then we pause. And then we close our mouth and nose and we widen our ribs, as if we were taking a breath but with no air coming in. Now pause before you try that, because there are some contraindications. When we widen our rib cage holding air out, we increase the pressure in this area here, in the thoracic area. It's a little bit, but it might be for some people not the best idea to do. I have lots of clients that can't do the apnea breath, and they still get amazing results from doing the 360 breathing, the postures, the poses, and the real awareness of their body, where their body is in space and time. I've had lots and lots of clients over the years that have not been able to do the apnea because of contraindications. So there are a few obvious contraindications. One is pregnancy, because when we do the apnea breath and widen the rib cage holding air out, we create more volume here and less volume here. So we're creating a drawing up of the pelvic organs. And so if there's a baby in there, that's not a great idea. We're increasing the pressure in our thoracic area. So if you've had any sort of heart bypass operation or stents fitted, then perhaps the apnea breath is not going to be the best for you because it creates a weakness in this area. And also COPD is another one, and that's because with COPD, when we do the apnea breath and hold with no air and widen our rib cage, for a moment, for that little bit of time, the oxygen in our blood decreases. And then it increases again afterwards. But with COPD, there may be less oxygen in the blood to start with, so may not be a great idea. If you are having a flare of Crohn's or IBS, then we also don't do the apnea breath because this is already pretty inflamed and it doesn't want to be moved about loads. However, for all of these, the 360 breathing, the awareness to posture, and the poses that we do that activate muscle and fascia chains are amazing. So Hyperpressives works whether you can do the apnea or not do the apnea, and that's a big thing. So any questions about that? We're going to do a little exercise, which is lovely, which is a prep exercise for the apnea that I teach everybody. So we're going to do that in just a moment too. Bye, Heidi. It's lovely to have you here. Yes, so Mia's saying, when I first held the apnea, it reminded me of the feeling I had when I almost drowned when I was younger. Yes, for some people, it can bring up these feelings of panic as well. So, but this is why I do this lovely exercise. So I'm going to finish my practical side of things with this exercise for you all. So we are going to, you can be sitting, standing, or lying down. I'd like you just to be aware that your diaphragms are lined up. So if you're lying down, back of your rib cage on your bed or floor, back of your pelvis on the floor. If you're sitting right, and your sit bones with your rib cage over your pelvis. If you're standing in the way we were just talking about. So we're going to inhale. And as you inhale, I'd like you to think about some place, something, or someone who brings you joy. So think of that person, thing, or thing first. So joy. The sympathetic nervous system is about fight or flight, but it's also about joy. So we're going to activate it through joy. Okay? Good. So thinking about that first. The second thing I'd like you to think about is someplace, something, or someone who brings you calm. Okay? Now, with your hands around your rib cage, you're going to inhale. And as you inhale, I'd like you to think about the thing that brings you joy. As you exhale, I'd like you to think about the thing that brings you calm. And we're going to do 3 breaths like this. At the end of the third one, I'd like you just to pause in your space of calm and not do anything at all. Just nice and relaxed. And you can breathe at any time you want. So we're just going to pause in that space of calm. So let's do it. So hands around your rib cage. You can take your time. Joy for inhale, calm for exhale. Ready to inhale. Inhaling in joy. Exhaling out calm. Inhaling joy. Exhaling calm. Inhale joy. Exhale your calm. At the end of this exhale, just close your mouth and nose and pause. And just think about your space of calm. And remember, at any point you can breathe. And just see how long you can feel nice and comfortable in that space. This is the practice I give everyone before they learn the apnea breath. If you can hold that space between breaths comfortably and don't have any of the contraindications for a count of 8, then you're ready to start learning the apnea. If you can't, let's practice this a little bit more until you get there. So this is a great practice that you can do. And it's lovely for helping you calm your nervous system down. Activating the joy and the calm is a great way of talking to your nervous system. So we're thinking good thoughts, we're doing good things, and we're starting to really focus on our body. And as a byproduct, our pelvic floor will start to engage as part of the team, which is excellent. So, any questions about anything that we've gone through tonight? I don't know, Mia. I've learned all these things. I didn't start teaching hyperpressives in the way I teach hyperpressives now. Everything is an evolution, you know, and we learn as we grow, and we grow as we learn, you know. Okay. Any other questions from anybody? Hi, Mahesh. Did you notice anything?
Sorry, hold on. Sorry. Hi, guys. Abby, you're awesome. Isn't she awesome? Give us a thumbs up for Abby. She gives and gives and gives, and she never stops giving. I don't know where she gets her energy from. Must be the Scottish winter.
In Scottish winter, I don't know, Janet would be able to tell us about that too. She's here too. So thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah. So what's going to happen, Abby? I just wanted to quickly mention.
Yeah.
So Abby, you've done a lot of videos for us.
Yes.
So I've created a run order here, which will continue the live stream for about an hour 15, something like that, an hour and a half. So we're going to do, if you're interested, you can continue exercising and relaxing and releasing. So Abby has done a few interesting videos as an extension of the session you just had. So we're going to go through a somatic green light, red light release. That's about 5 minutes. We're going to do a Soas lengthening stretch, which is lovely. I do it quite often. It's about 10 minutes. And then we have a story of Amy doing these exercises. So you're going to listen to her. Then you can go a little bit deeper with the lateral breaths. Then you'll meet Sam, if you were here yesterday, you'll meet her again. And she shares her story. And then you're going to go into alignment of more posture work. And then finally, we're going to do a pose of hyperpressives on your back. And we're going to end with the story again. So it's about 90 minutes. I'm just going to let the live stream run. You're welcome to tune in and tune out. And we'll be moderating the chat room. Abby's going to go back to her family, which, I was waiting for her. So we'll be moderating the chat room. Send us questions. And obviously, if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments and we'll try to answer them. And you're going to get all of this via email as well. So do it at your convenience, but we just wanted to hold the space for you that want to continue feeding this camaraderie, feeding this community. And so we'll just continue the live stream if you have no other questions.
Oh, Mahesh, there's one. So Jackie asked about perineum descent. This really helps with perineum descent as well, Jackie. It's your perineum is a big part of your pelvic floor. It's the part that goes across the way like this as well as this way. So there's like a little cross between your vagina and your anus, and that bit's your perineum. So what Hyperpressives does is, as you start to breathe, it creates that better function in the pelvic floor. And then if you're able to do the apnea breath as well, it creates a little bit of lift. But over time, yes, absolutely. What we're doing is we're helping to train the perineum as well. So I thought I'd answered that as part of the other ones, and I'm sorry I wasn't directly answering that. But yes, it's absolutely lovely. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
What makes you
Mia's giving me more love there. Hyperpressives has changed my life. Wow, that's great to hear, Katherine. We see these stories all the time, right? So Abby, we have a 12-week program. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and I was going to say to Marchment Physiotherapy, please get in touch, send me an email, because she's just up the road, Mahesh. So she's in Edinburgh where I grew up, so it's exactly the place I grew up. So it'd be nice to hook up and go for coffee.
Isn't YouTube funny? You have people from all over the world, from New Zealand, and I'm here at Bali at 5 in the morning, and you have somebody living up here. It's lovely.
Jackie, yes, Jackie's a bit worried that she can't do the apnea. Jackie is absolutely will still help the perineum, especially if you follow the program and learn all the poses, and learn the activations, learn the release, and do the breathing and really focus on it. It will really, really help. Really, promise. Yeah. And thank you, everyone. Right, I'll go back to my family now. Yeah.
Get back to your family.
Do I just end? What do I do?
No, don't end. I'll message you on WhatsApp when to end.
Okay.
So turn off your audio, turn off your video, and
cool.
just give me a second. Yeah, I'm going to share.
Mia, if
Abby, you need to let me.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Mia, if you want to ask any questions, you can get in touch with us at Moonrise at support@moonrise.health. And that's the best way to get in touch with us for questions, isn't it, Mahesh?
Yeah. Support@moonrise.health. Yeah. We might be a little slow the coming week. We have a backlog to work through, but we'll do our best.
Yeah, we will. Cool. Right, I'm going to switch my camera and audio. I'm going to go.
Hold on, Abby. You need to let me share. So
Okay, cool.
can you allow me to share from your
Yes.
Zoom? So
Okay.
you need to let me screen share.
Text not my great thing, guys. This is Mahesh.
Yeah. All
Is
right. So I'm gonna continue the stream here.
it multiple participants, Mahesh?
Yeah, to share screen.
Oh no, just share screen. Okay, hold on.
So I should be able to share my screen, basically.
All right, hold on. You might have to help me with this, Mahesh.
All right. Let's see.
Okay, I've got it. Try that.
Beautiful. Yeah. Works. I'm gonna let it go. There you go. So we're gonna start with Amy, and then we're gonna get into. Let's just see that again. 1 second. Sorry, guys. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Sabi, you can mute yourself and turn off your camera if you like.
And I have 7 beautiful grown children. Amazingly, I had all of them without suffering any pelvic floor dysfunction. But then came a hard winter 4 years ago in my life. We had just moved on to a large off-grid property in northern Arizona, and we were staying in a tiny 42 square foot trailer. I have a medical condition that keeps me pretty much homebound, and I had been unable to tolerate most forms of heating, including wood or propane or electric. So we hadn't quite figured out yet a form of heating that would work for me up here in the winter, when suddenly in the middle of October, we were hit with a huge snowstorm. And that was the beginning of a long and cold winter, which lasted until mid-March. Well, I just remember feeling tensed up that whole winter and wishing that I could get warm and relax. What I didn't realize at the time was that in tensing my body and trying to get warm, I was also tensing my pelvic floor for all of those months. I was practically doing a constant Kegel, and it was very stressful for my pelvic floor. About 3 months into that winter, I suddenly felt this scary shift down there, which got worse when I squatted or bent over to pick up something heavy, or even if I lifted anything heavier than 10 pounds or something. Felt like I had like a really heavy golf ball stuck where it shouldn't be. So I went online to a specialist who explained that I had both erectocele and a cystocele, as well as some other prolapse issues. And this person recommended that I do an abdominal massage morning and evening and wear a faja, which is like a big long band that you wrap around yourself tightly and kind of holds everything in place. So I sewed one of those and tried this for the next 3.5 years, but things did not improve in that department. By that time, we were busy building a home on our acreage here. We were doing all the work ourselves, my husband and I, and our grown son. And I was basically useless as a helper. I couldn't even lift a 38-pound concrete block to help them build the walls without feeling like all my guts were going to just fall out onto the ground. If you've had this kind of pelvic floor dysfunction, you know what I'm talking about. It's just unnerving. I felt a tremendous amount of frustration and even, I guess you could say, self-loathing. I lost my former confidence, even in the bedroom. I just felt like something was irreparably wrong with me, and it made me feel humiliated and ashamed. Sometimes even standing for long periods of time just to wash the dishes or something would be so uncomfortable that I'd be brought to tears. Well, around Mother's Day this year, I was scrolling the internet searching for a solution to my problem. We were nearing the completion of the house and planning to have a week-long Labor Day family reunion on September 1st. So I was wondering how I would pull off being the hostess, mother, and grandmother for a week with no breaks to go hang upside down or try to fix my pelvic floor issues when I came upon this Moonrise pelvic health program. I started listening to other women's stories, and it was so inspiring. I told my husband, look, this 12-week Hyperpressives program seems to be working for these other ladies. I wish I could try it. But I know money's tight right now, and we're working on this house project. my husband said, I'll get it for you for Mother's Day. We're 12 weeks away from that Labor Day reunion, so maybe you'll feel better by then. I can honestly say his best Mother's Day gift ever. So I started in, but Abby showed us how to do this lateral breathing, and it was something completely new for me. I was a singer and a brass musician, and I'd always been taught to breathe down into my abdomen. Mobilizing my ribs was something completely new. After a couple of videos, the first one I totally did it wrong, and she was like, no, try again. Then I sent her a second one where I kind of was like, oh, I have to be opening my ribs like an umbrella and then closing them and opening them. Abby was so excited. Yes, Amy, you're getting it. And I just took off with those lateral breaths in the apnea. I didn't have a good place to do the exercises because we're building a house and I just said either the ground or my bed. So I did them in bed before getting up in the morning. After about 4 weeks, I was already noticing a difference. Not only in how I felt while I was standing or bending over or picking up heavy stuff, but also in the bedroom where things started feeling like they used to. In my opinion, this was a miracle. 12 weeks later, I hosted the Labor Day reunion, and I can honestly say I had zero discomfort that whole week. I was making food and serving food. I was playing with babies and toddlers on the floor. I was carrying them around. I was singing with my family, and I felt good and confident and strong. So I know I'm not 100% better yet, but the improvement in such a short time has been so astonishing for me. And I plan to continue to use the site and the instruction videos and the Zoom chats in the library far into my future. So I just want to encourage you, if you're having pelvic health issues, I would highly recommend Moonrise Pelvic Health. Philippa and Abby are amazing. Abby in particular has been so specific in her personal interactions with me, with my videos, with my emails. She's been the best and the kindest cheerleader in this. Both of these women have gone through the discomfort and frustration of pelvic floor issues, and they're passionate about helping others of us who are struggling like I was. In my opinion, what they have to offer here is so far better than conventional medicine, which tells you to do a zillion Kegels, or tells you you need to get surgery, or tells you you have to wear a pessary, or even tells you you have to tie a big thing around yourself tightly every day without correcting the underlying issue. These ladies are teaching our bodies to align themselves through proper breath work and the calming of our nervous systems and the gentle vacuum suction of the apnea. You can almost feel it just moving everything back into its place. This is a tool that I believe every woman should have, and I'm just really glad that I found it.
Okay, hi. So this next one that we're going to do is the green light, red light response, and I just love this. So it works on the pretext, or it's a somatic movement. So it works on the basis that sometimes we get caught where our spine is compressed. So that's when we have this kind of really big lordosis in our spine, perhaps, or we tend to anteriorly tilt our pelvis. And our spine can get used to that. And it's just compressed all the time. And it doesn't understand that it needs to be able to compress and tension or lengthen. And it needs these two movement patterns. And so it gets stuck here, and then we start to get sore backs, sore shoulders. It feels, upper back feels a bit gnarly. It also relates to that anterior tilt of the pelvis, so that can affect your abdominals. It can affect the way that you breathe. The other way that we can get stuck is we can get stuck with too much tensioning. So that's when we tuck our tailbone under, and we have this kind of idea of this kyphos, so this feeling of like our shoulders pushing out behind us. We've got this kind of rounded spine. So it looks like, instead of looking like a banana with the lordosis, it looks like a banana the other way. And this can mean that our back gets caught in this position. So it feels that this is the right position it should be in, but it never releases, so it never compresses. So we have this compression that happens in our spine, and then this tensioning, which relates to being to almost like a tightening of the vertebra together, and then an opening of the vertebra. So we are going to do them so the reason this works is because when we do this, we encourage extra compression, so extra arching of the back, to remind our back that arching is not where it should be. And then we encourage extra tensioning or lengthening of the spine to say to our back, that's also not where you should be hanging out all the time. You should be hanging out somewhere in the middle so that you have these two extremes to move to when you need to. So we're not stuck in the extremes all the time. So chat over, let's do it. So we're coming to lying on our backs with our knees bent and our feet flat on the floor. This just feels really nice in your body as well when you do it. So the other thing about this, these are primordial response patterns. So we've got the startle response that you see in children, which is the green light, and then we've got the red light, which is the curling in. So we've got the two different patterns. Okay, so we've got startle response, and then we've got the curling response. So let us begin. So we're going to start again. We are not thinking about moving our feet. So we're keeping our feet nice and neutral on the floor. The movement pattern is not coming from our feet. Our knees are pointing up, straight up towards the ceiling, and they're going to stay hip distance apart. They're not going to be moving about when we do this. Everything here is just nice and calm. Our hands are nice and calm by our sides, and we're gazing up towards the ceiling. Now, as we inhale, we're going to tilt our pubic bone down towards the floor. And this is forcing us then to come into much more of an arched spine or a compression of the spine. Then as we exhale, we're going to tuck our tailbone right underneath, bringing our pubic bone up towards our navel and really curling our spine. Good. Then we're going to inhale again. And as we inhale, we're going to arch, 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 really creating that compression. Shoulders are nice and relaxed. Feet are nice and relaxed. Exhale, tuck your tailbone under. Really curling this under as you come. Good. And then we're going to do the same thing again. So we're inhaling, arching, and we're going to do about 10 of these. And then exhaling, tucking that tailbone under, really feeling that lower back draw towards the floor, making sure the pubic bone's drawing towards your navel. We're not lifting our bum off the floor. We're just doing this through the back extensors. So then we're again rolling through our pelvis. Really arching that back, feeling that arch, keeping your shoulders relaxed, your face relaxed, your feet and knees relaxed. Exhale, tucking that tailbone right back up underneath. Good. And again, inhale, nice and slowly, really arching. And again, good, and really feel that. And then exhale, tucking it right back up underneath. Now, just so we learn to pause, we're going to do this as a box breathing again. So we're going to inhale for 4, hold it for 4, exhale for 4, hold it for 4. And we're just going to do it 3 times through, just so you can feel those extremes in your body. So the inhale is the arch, ready to inhale. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, and just come back to a nice neutral spine here. So your spine should be feeling like it's a little bit looser, because what this does is it makes your body go, oh no, I don't want to be holding it like that. No, I don't want that holding pattern. It'd be much better if it was a different way. So this is called the red light, green light, and we're going to add this into the final pose as well in Demeter. So it's a great way to add a bit more movement of the spine into the Demeter pose. Okay, hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you soon. Hi. So this video is going to be a Soas release, which is just a really lovely exercise. It's a somatic movement exercise, and we're just using our own body for this. You might want either socks on or a slippy floor. It makes it easier to move your feet, but any of this is fine. This is safe for everybody. It's such a lovely exercise. Okay, so we're going to come to lying down on our backs with our legs fully extended along the floor. Good, excellent. Hands just by your side. I'd like you just to feel how your body feels. So we're going to have partially close our eyes before we begin. And in this partially closed eyes, we want to think about, we're going to start with our feet. I'd like you to think how your feet feel. Do your toes and your feet feel like they're flopping out to the side? Do they feel like they're flopping in the way? Are they straight up? Don't change anything, just feel. How do your calves feel? Do your calves feel like they're on the floor or off the floor? Do your ankles feel like they're on the floor or off the floor? Does one calf feel heavier than the other calf? Coming up past your knees to your thighs. How do your thighs feel? Do they feel like they're on the floor and connected to the floor? Do you feel like they're really far away from the floor? Do you feel like one side feels heavier, like lead, and the other feels like a feather? And then we're going to come up to the pelvis. And we want to feel which part of our pelvis we're actually sitting on. We're not changing anything. Are you sitting quite low in your pelvis, in your posture, so that your back arches off the floor? Or are you sitting quite far back, so your back is on the floor? Is one side heavier than the other? Do you feel like you're favouring one side and it's much heavier than the other side of your body? Moving up your back, thinking about your lower back. Does it feel quite tight? Does it feel close to the floor? Does it feel massively far away from the floor? How are your ribs? Do your rib cage feel like it's popping off the floor? Is it connected to the floor? And what about your neck? How does your neck and your head feel? Okay, so what we're going to do is a really simple movement pattern. We're going to start with whichever side you want, but I'm going to start with the side closest to you so you can see what I'm doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open from my hip out towards the side until my knee starts to bend. Then I'm just going to take it back to its starting position. Again, I'm opening from the hip. This bit here is opening. Good. And then back to your starting position. And we're going to do this 7 times. So we're at 3 and we're just moving slowly. 4. Your psoas is a muscle that doesn't like to be hurried. The slower we can warm it up, the better. 5. Good. 6. Perfect. And 7. Now when we get to 7, we're going to leave this hip open for a moment. And then what we're going to do is we're going to draw the heel up the inside of the other leg as far as is comfortable for you. So if that's just to your ankle, fine. If you can get it to your knee, also fine. But it's not about taking it to where it's too uncomfortable. You can take it even further up if you feel that you want to. And then all we're going to do is slide it all the way back down to the hip opening position and then back to our start. We're going to open, draw it up, bring it back down and back to start. Open, draw it all the way up nice and slowly and then all the way down, back to your start. Then open, draw the heel up the inside and then all the way back to the start. I think we're on 5. Open, draw it all the way up. You can do this more than 7 times at home. I'm just using 7 at the moment. 6 because it's a nice number to teach. Then open, and it's like a magic number, like 3. And then all the way up, and then all the way back down. That's your 7th. So now we're going to bring it up again. So we're opening. We're bringing it up and we're going to stop here. Now what we're going to do with our leg is with our foot is we're going to start with our heel off the floor, our heel on the floor and our toes off the floor. And then we're going to roll through our foot to our toes are on the floor and our heels off the floor. So this is along the outside rim of your foot. So it's heel on the floor, toes off the floor, toes on the floor, heel off the floor. Heel on the floor, toes off the floor. So you're just rolling along the outside edge of your foot. Good. And we're going to do this again 7 times. Good. So I'm on 4, 5, again slowly, 6, 7. And then I'm going to slide it all the way back down again. And I'm going to feel how that side feels compared with the other. So you may feel that the side feels lighter. You might feel that the leg feels really much longer, which is what mine's feeling like just now. It feels like it's like loads longer. It looks a wee bit longer. Sometimes it's a visible thing when I do this with clients and it's a much, much longer. Let's correct that and let's do it on the other side. So what's happened actually, before we do the other side, what's happened here is my psoas has been really tight. So it's been pulling up at my hip because it's part of it is one of my hip flexors and it's been pulling up here and creating, so now I feel that on one side of my body, my lower back feels like it's much more comfortable. It doesn't feel quite so tight. So feel how that feels down one side of your body to start with, and let's do it on the other. So we're going to do the same thing on the other leg. So we're opening towards the side till the knee starts to bend, and then bringing it back to the start. Open to the side. Good. Bring it back to the start. Open to the side. Bring it back to the start. So I'm on 3, I think. Open to the side. And 4. And 5. Good. And 6. Always breathe as well, yeah? And 7. Good. Now I'm going to draw my heel up to where it's comfortable. Always to where it's comfortable to you. If it's just your ankle, that's totally fine. And then all the way back down to the start. Then open and draw it up. So it's 2. And then all the way back down. And open. 3. And all the way back down. So these 2 movements we do at the beginning, 4, are warming the psoas up. 5. Good. And the last one where we move our foot is where we're stretching or lengthening the psoas. 6. Good. 7. And this last one, 8. I'm opening, drawing it up. And I'm going to roll on that outside of your foot. So I'm going to move my leg out a bit more so you can see what I'm doing. So heel on the floor, then toes on the floor, heel off the floor. So we're rolling through this foot. And we're going to do this 7 times. Good. So I'm on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to roll it all the way back down to the start. And hopefully both your feet feel the same length now, or feel the same lightness. So now hands just by your side, close your eyes or partially close your eyes. And we're going to take some nice deep breaths in and you're going to visualize your body. How do your feet feel now? Do they feel more relaxed? Have they less tension? Do they feel like they're maybe less flopped out towards the side, or perhaps they're further out towards the side? Do they feel more neutral? How are your calves and your ankles? What about your thighs? Do they feel like they might be closer to the floor perhaps? And also your pelvis. Do you feel like you're in a better pelvic position than you were when you started? And how does your lower back feel? And do both your sides of your body now feel quite even? So if one had felt more heavy than the other, does it feel like it's evened out? The hands just there. Just relax by your side, body nice and relaxed. Gaze towards the ceiling, now close your eyes. We're going to do 4 rounds of box breathing. Just inhaling for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, just to feel your body at the end of that. Ready to inhale. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Just back to your own natural cadence. Okay, wiggle your toes, wiggle your hands. Hopefully that felt really nice to you. And that's so a stretch. You can do it in bed. You can do it first thing in the morning when you wake up. If you're somebody who wakes up with like backache, so if you're somebody who wake up with lower back pain quite a lot in the mornings, then try and do that exercise before you go to bed at night. And you may find that your back feels much, much better in the morning. I know it made a huge difference to mine. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I'll see you in the next one. Hi, so we're back. Okay, so this exercise that we're about to do, we're about to do 2 exercises. We're about to do releasing your neck with your eyes and releasing your neck with your tongue. So both of these are really lovely ways to just create a bit more, take away some of the tension that we quite often hold in our neck and our shoulders, predominantly your neck. This again exercise is safe for everyone. If you have neck problems, it's also safe. We're not doing anything that is going to exacerbate anything or injure anything. It's a very gentle exercise. So this is just about releasing. So the first one that we're going to do is the eyes. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you just to look over your shoulder. So we're going to look over one shoulder. I'd like you just to feel or see how far you can see if you look over your shoulder. Good. And then you're going to come back round and you're going to look over your other shoulder. Good. And then you're going to come back again. So we're going to inhale. As we exhale, we're going to look over our shoulder again. We're going to inhale here. As we exhale, we're going to take our eyes further round than where they are now. And you should find that your neck goes further. And then we're going to bring it back round again. So we're going to go the other way. So we're going to inhale. We're going to exhale, look over our shoulder or turn our head. We're going to inhale. Now you're going to take your eyes to look further round as you exhale. And you should find that you get a little bit more movement with your neck. Now bring it back round. Okay, so let's try that again. So we're going to look over this shoulder. Ready to inhale. Looking over your shoulder on the exhale. Inhale, pause. Exhale, look round further with your eyes. Did you get further that time? Inhale. Exhale, bring it back. Let's go the other way. Inhale. Exhale, look over your shoulder. Inhale again. Exhale, take your eyes round. Inhale again. Come back round. How did that feel? Did you feel that little extra bit of movement you got with your neck when you moved your eyes? So for the next one, we're going to use our tongue. So this looks a bit odd when you do it, but it's phenomenal sometimes, especially if you carry a lot of tension in your neck. So first of all, we're going to look over your shoulders and we're going to feel how far we can go before we feel restriction. We're going to feel if we've got any tension. So if you feel any tightness as you look over your shoulder, we're just going to be aware of our bodies. So we're going to have a look over one shoulder first. Can you feel any pulling anywhere? Taking it around as far as you can go. Where do you feel any tension in your neck? Do you feel it in your back? Do you feel it in the side of your neck? Where do you feel any tension? Do you feel it in your face even? Then we're going to take it around to the front and we're going to look over the other shoulder. And same thing here. Where do you feel tension? Do you feel it down your neck? Do you feel it in your upper back? Do you feel it in your face? Do you feel it in your jaw? Come back. So now we're going to take our tongue. And the first thing we're going to do with our tongue is we're going to stick it straight out in front of us. Then what we're going to do is when your tongue's out in front of you, you're going to take it over to one side. And once you take it over to one side, you're then going to, it looks like this. We're going to keep our eyes looking straight ahead all the time. Our face is always going to keep looking straight ahead. It's not going to move with our tongue. Then once we take it over to the side, our tongue's still stuck out. We're going to move it up and down as if we're trying to lick our ear, up and down our ear. So we're taking it as far over to the side as we can. So, tongue out. Back to the front and in. We're going to do it the other way, so exactly the same the other way. Totally flavoured. So it's the other way. Stick it out. Back to the front and in. Good. Always make sure that you keep your face and your head and everything point straight ahead. You don't follow your tongue. It's a very attractive pose. Now, look over your shoulder. Can you feel that there's less tension? Can you maybe look over your shoulder a bit further? Now, if you use your eyes, can you get even further around with your neck? Bring it around the other way. Look over your shoulder again. Can you feel that there's really, maybe there's less tension in your neck and your upper back? And then bring it back to the front. So though not an attractive pose at all to do, it does release tension. The other thing with this is that we have this amazing connection that goes from your big toe all the way through your body and up to your tongue. And we have a connection with tension in our tongue and our neck and our pelvic floor. So if we carry tension in our jaw, we carry tension in our pelvic floor. So in order to be able to get the most from hyperpressives, or the most functionality in your pelvic floor and your pelvis, we need to make sure that we're not carrying tension in our neck and also our tongue. So this release exercise with the tongue and the release exercise with the eyes helps to reduce that tension in the jaw and reduce the tension in the neck, and thus reduce the tension in the pelvic floor. And that's what we're looking to do. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of out there exercise, and maybe do it in the safety of your own house, and maybe not out in public. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you felt the results as well. Take care. Speak soon. Oh, actually, while we're here, sorry, I had this on because so this little section. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to feel your pelvic floor. I want you to just feel the space between your sit bones, just while we're here. Some people really feel this and others maybe not. But the more you become in tune with your pelvic floor, the more you start to feel this. So what we're going to do is we're going to create tension and release in our pelvic floor by creating tension and release in our jaw. So feeling your pelvic floor, partially close your eyes or fully close your eyes and really just feel where your pelvic floor is. Maybe take a couple of breaths. Feel the pelvic floor and exhale. As you inhale, think about the sit bones widening. And as you exhale, feel that release. Okay, so now we're a little bit more in touch with our pelvic floor. What we're going to do with our tongue is we're going to visualize, or we're actually going to do, we're going to pull our tongue back as if we want to swallow it. So at the back of our tongue, we're going to try and pull it down our throat. And then you're going to let it flop out. Then pull it back again. Like you're trying to pull your whole tongue back down your throat. And now let it flop out. Pull it back. I'd like you to feel what's happening in your pelvic floor. So close your eyes, or partially close your eyes, and draw that tongue back. And then let it fall out. And then draw it back. And let it fall out. And again, draw back. And let it throw out. So hopefully what you can feel is this rock of your pelvic floor. This idea that it feels like it's tightening and then letting go. The more you can kind of feel what's going on in your body, the more you can feel where you create tension patterns. And it's these tension patterns that can pause healing, or it's tension patterns that can make healing take a little bit longer. So the more we can find ways to release these tension patterns or these patterns of holding in our body, the more ability we'll have to be able to heal. Hope you enjoyed that. Okay. Hello and welcome. In this session, we are going to have a little talk about breath work and how breath work works in hyperpressives, but we're also going to do at the same time. The first thing I'd like us to do is find a comfortable sitting position. So you may sit on a block or a cushion, you might be sitting on a chair. Wherever you're sitting, I'd like you just to make sure that you're sitting on your sit bones, so that's the bony bit underneath. So you can put your hands underneath and feel, and you want to feel that bony bit underneath both sides. So sitting on our sit bones. And I'd like us just to be aware of our rib cage position. So if we think about our rib cage like a bell, if we ring the bell forwards, then we create more tension in our back muscles, and you can feel that in your back. If we ring the bell, so this creates lordosis. If we ring the bell backwards, then we create more of an idea of kyphos, where we're hunching over and everything feels really tight in here. So you want to have our bell so it's ringing directly on top of our pelvis. Okay, now you've found that position in your body. We are going to do some breathing. The first thing I'd like you to do is we're going to do a time breathing. So I'd like you to count how many times you breathe in the next 30 seconds. A whole breath count is an inhale and an exhale. So I would love for you to start when I say. So getting ready to inhale. We are just going to work from in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin your breathing. So counting both your inhale and your exhale. Don't change the breath that you usually do, just work with the breathing that you usually work with. Okay. Still counting. And stopping in 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Okay, now take that number of breaths that you have there, okay, and then what I'd like you to do is times that by 2. So if for example, you did 10 breaths, then you would be at 20. If you did 6, you'd be at 12. So that number, ideally, that's the number of how many breaths you make in 1 minute. Ideally, we would like this to be under 12 breaths a minute. For the majority of people, they're between 1 and 20 breaths. If you're over 20 breaths per minute, then we really need to work on slowing it down. The faster we breathe, the more we talk to the sympathetic nervous system, and the less we talk to the parasympathetic nervous system in very basic nervous system terms. Your pelvic floor is mainly innervated or moved by your parasympathetic nervous system. So in order for our body to work properly, we need both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system to be working in harmony, especially for our bladder. So what we're going to do is work on slowing this down. So using the breath work that we started to work with in the lateral breathing that we've previously done, we are going to take our hands and place them around our rib cage. Okay. As we inhale, we're going to inhale for a count of 5, and we're going to exhale for a count of 5. And we're just going to see how easy that is in your body. So take a nice deep breath in, inhaling for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. How easy or difficult was that for you in your body? This time we are going to breathe in and out for a count of 8. So we're doing 8. So you might have found 5, 5 really relatively easy for you. We're going to try 8, 8 and then 10, 10, and then I'm going to give you some tricks to help you with this. So hands back around your rib cage, so you can feel the bottom of your rib cage if you want. Otherwise you can have your hands just relaxing on your legs. So we're going to take a nice deep breath in, so slow breath in for 8. Ready to inhale. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How did that feel in your body? So again, this may be a challenge for you. Let's try 10. So hands back around your rib cage. Ready to inhale. Take a nice deep breath, slow breath in. Ready to inhale. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so you may have found that last one a challenge. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about where the air goes, or how much space we allow for our lungs to inflate to allow us to slow our breath down. So we're going to inhale for a count of 3 for a count of 4, count of 4 into the side of our ribs. Then we're going to send the air back to our bra strap for a count of 4. And then we're going to finish with a count of 3, feeling the expansion in our upper chest here. And we're going to do the same on the exhale. We're going to reverse it. 3, 4 to the back and 4 to the sides. So when you're ready, so to the sides first. So inhaling, open the sides. In, 2, 3, 4, back, 2, 3, 4, front, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, back, 2, 3, 4, sides, 2, 3, 4. How did that feel? Let's do that one again. So we're opening 4, 4, 3. Oh no, it should be 4. Sorry, I've made you breathe for much, much longer than I needed to make you breathe for. It's terrible counting on my half. So we are going 4, and then we're going 3, and then 3. 4 to the side, 3 to the back, 3 to the top. Ready to inhale. Side, 2, 3, 4, back, 2, 3, chest, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, back, 2, 3, sides, 2, 3, 4. Shall we try that again? So 4, 3, 3. Ready to inhale. Side, 2, 3, 4, back, 2, 3, chest, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, back, 2, 3, sides, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now if we practice this slow breathing, so really focusing, we don't have to practice it with a count, but all the time, but you may challenge yourself every so often. But really focusing on using this entire rib cage to breathe, but initiating all of the movement with the lower ribs expanding towards the sides, then feel the back kicking in, and finally feeling the opening of the chest here. Notice that I say opening. We're not going to be using our shoulders to lift. We want to really feel almost like the expansion of our rib cage up here at the top. So your ribs come all the way up to where your clavicle is here. Your clavicle's here. And your top rib actually passes from your sternum under the clavicle and comes up to your neck. So we want to really feel this expansion through this area of our body when we inhale and exhale. Let's do that one more time. So now we're going to focus just on a nice slow breath. You can have your hands around your rib cage, your hands by your side. So we're going to inhale for a count of 10, exhale for a count of 10, and do that twice through. And I'd love you to focus on rib cage opening, back opening, chest opening. So are you ready to inhale? In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, hopefully that felt nice in your body. What we're going to do now is a tiny bit of box breathing. So we're going to inhale for a count of 4, pause for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, pause for a count of 4, and we're going to do this through twice. So ready to inhale. In, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. That rhythmical breathing where we take that time, that moment, that pause between breaths before we start the next breath really speaks to our nervous system. So if you're feeling anxious or worried, you can take yourself to a space, it doesn't matter where it is, it could be in your car, and just breathe to a count of 4, 4, 4, 4, or 5, 5, 5, 5. So these, it really speaks to calming our sympathetic nervous system down and allowing our parasympathetic nervous system to work. I hope you've enjoyed this as an additional part to your lateral breathing exercises. And I hope that this helps you find some harmony within your breath. Take care.
All right. So good day to you, Katherine. How are you today?
Well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's late in the evening for you in Jamaica.
Yes.
It's early in the morning for me in Bali. So wonderful conversation to have. So, for the uninitiated, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got affected by the symptoms of pelvic floor dysfunction.
Well, I'm 61 now and I'm a mother of 3. And after I had my third baby, the placenta didn't deliver. And so I had midwives through the birth and everything. And then they stopped a doctor on his way. I think he was going to do a C-section. So he was in a hurry and he pulled the placenta and snapped the cord, basically. So I had to have it manually removed. So my feeling is, with hindsight, that I think this was the beginning of the prolapse for me. And about 5 months later, I had the first symptoms. Went to the doctor and was given, just the pelvic floor exercises to do and kind of sent away. And then it was sort of okay, fine for about 7 years. And then it really just fell down out. So I went to a doctor, a male gynecologist, who said, oh, it's not too bad. You just need to get on with your life. It will either get worse or it'll stay the same. So I just basically asked him, well, what would you do? Which is kind of strange to ask the man, but he just said I wouldn't do anything, which in a way was sort of a good answer for me, because I didn't want to do surgery. So I thought, right, I'm doing the natural route. And I found a woman called Christine Kent, who'd written a book called Saving the Whole Woman. I think that's what it's called. And just started reading that and trying to do things that she was suggesting. And there was a big forum and there was quite a community online, but still very much, didn't speak about.
Hello and welcome back to Module 3. We're going to look at standing now and alignment standing. And I've got a couple of really nice foot exercises to help you connect more with your feet. Our feet have 250 to 300,000 nerve endings in each one. They're the place where we balance from, they're the place where we take off from. They're when we're walking, they're just super important to your well-being. And now there's lots more research indicating that the health of your feet can really affect your pelvic floor. Everything is so connected. So even there's a connection between your big toe and your transverse abdominis muscle, one of your deep alignment muscles. There's a connection between your toes and your sacral ligament, which surrounds the sacrum, the posterior end of your pelvis. So there's a lot going on down here. And also your sciatic nerve ends up in your heel. So it's important to keep your feet super healthy and try to spread your toes as much as you can. So here's the exercise I'm going to teach you just as a bit of fun at the beginning of this part of Module 3. So we're going to spread our toes as far away from each other as possible. I'm going to start with one foot. So just start with one foot, pick a foot. First thing you're going to do is try and get your big toe and your little toe as far away from each other as you can. Then what we're going to do is keep all the other toes down and we're going to lift just our big toe up. We're lifting it up towards ourselves and in towards the opposite foot and away from us. We're not lifting it up and towards the foot that it comes from. Then I'm going to place my big toe down, obeying the same things, thinking about it stretching away, in towards the other foot and pressing down. I'm going to lift all the other toes up. Then I'm going to put the other toes down and lift the toe up again. And put the big toe down, lift the other toes up. Put the other toes down, lift the big toe up. Put the big toe down, lift the other toes up. And I'm going to keep going like this. Just maybe do 10. Yeah? And really trying to alternate. Good. So then I'm going to move to the other foot. Do the same thing. So again, spreading my toes out. I'm going to lift the big toe up. Again, trying to stop it from deviating towards its foot itself. What happens is when your big toe does this and starts to cross over into the path of the other toes, it creates a space in the bone. And your bone, your body, then creates more bone, which can in turn move into being bunions and things like that. So I'm going to lift my big toe up. I'm going to place my big toe down and lift all my other toes up. And then I'm going to put my other toes down, lift my big toe up, and put my big toe down and lift my other toes up. Little toe, all my toes down, big toe up, big toe down, big toe up, little toes down. Good. And keep going for about 10 or until they're knackered, a bit tired. Okay. Now I'm just going to try a toe tap. So I'm going to lift them all up. I'm going to tap my big toe down, then lift all my toes up, tap my little toe down. Toes up, big toe. Toes up, little toe. Toes up, big toe, toes up, little toe, toes up, big toe, toes up, little toe. Good. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going big toe, toes up, big toe down, big toe up, little toe down, toes up, big toe down, toe up, little toe down, toes up, big toe down, toes up, little toe down, toes up. These are exercises that you can do anywhere, and the more mobile your feet, the more functional your entire body will become. The last one we're going to do is a little warm up for our feet, is a back of the foot stretch. So this area here, this dorsiflexion, this dorsal bit of your foot, the back of your foot, if it becomes really tight, it can start to pull. If all the fascia and stuff becomes tight here, it starts to pull on these toes. And if it pulls on these toes, it starts to pull them in towards each other. And this can create things like hammer toe as well. And these are all going to affect your alignment, your balance, and your general well-being. So there's a simple little exercise for this. So all that we're going to do is you can hold a wall for support or a chair if you need it. You're going to place the back of your foot on the floor. You're going to make sure your heel is lined up with your knees so it's not dropping out to the side either side. And you're going to hold it and breathe. If this is incredibly tight, you need to do it a bit more often and just start to slowly allow it to stretch off. So we're going to hold that just for a few breaths, and then we're going to swap and do the other side. So exactly the same on the other side. Perfect. Good. So now we've warmed our feet up, we're going to work up from our feet all the way up towards our heads. So we're going to start with our feet hip distance apart. We don't want our feet so wide apart that we're like a cowboy, and we don't want them so narrow that we've not got much of a balance centre. We want to essentially line our body up again. So we want our feet underneath our hips. So we want them hip distance apart. That's 2 of your fists between your feet or a length of your hand. So that's a little bit narrow there. Okay, so now I've done that, I want to also make sure my feet are in a straight line, because I want my hip, all my muscles to actually line up properly so they're not stretched in different directions. So I want to make sure that my toes aren't pointing in like pigeon-toed, and they're not pointing out the way either, that they are in a straight line. Then we're moving up. So we're going to make sure that our knees are nice and soft. Now the reason for this as well is, especially with hypermobility, and I see a lot of women who are hypermobile. Connective tissue disorders seem to loan themselves to prolapse and incontinence symptoms post-baby. So what happens when you lock your knees out? When you lock your knees out, this happens to the rest of your body. So you can see now how totally out of alignment I am. My shoulders have pulled back, my bottom's pushed out, and my ribcage is pointed out towards the front. But if I just soften my knees, it allows everything to kind of come back into line. So we're going to, and that's more accentuated if you're hypermobile and your knees pop out behind. So we want to keep this back of the knees nice and soft. It's called your popliteal. It's a really cool name. So we've got our feet hip distance apart. We spread our toes out. Knees are nice and soft. We're going to come up to our pelvis now. Remember when we were on the floor and we did the alignment on the floor, we made sure that we had this kind of, we had our pubic bone and our SAS bones in a nice straight line, and the kind of your pubic bone and your belly button lined up. So what we're going to do here is the same thing. We're going to put our fingertips on our pubic bone, the heel of our hands on our SAS bone, and we want to make sure they're in a nice straight line with each other. Almost makes a love heart. It's pretty cool. Then what we're going to do is, what happens if that's not quite right? So if you find that if you do this and you find that your fingers are further forward than the heel of your hands, what you've done is you've posteriorly tilted your pelvis. I'll really over-exaggerate it for you. So posterior tilt here. What this generally means, and who generally does this, is that you've clenched your buttocks. So with pelvic floor dysfunction, your body will try and help you stabilize in whatever way it can. So for a lot of people, and a lot of women, what happens is they start to clench their glutes all the time. So they clench their glutes really, really tight, and that pulls their pelvis back the way, pushes their pubic bone out towards the front, and pulls you into really quite shocking alignment. What happens as well with this is that because these glutes are on almost all the time, when they get tired, so they're not always going to be as functional as we want them to be. And your glutes are your pelvic floor's best friends forever. And we need them to be there to help support our pelvic floor when we ask for it. So when we're standing, when you put the kettle on, or when you go to cook tea, or find a moment in the day, or when you're standing brushing your teeth, make sure that your glutes are switched off. So they're not firing, so they're nice and relaxed. Again, so that's if we find that when we put our hands here, our fingertips are in front of our heel of our hands. So we want to bring that back the way by relaxing our glutes. If you find that when you come into this position that your fingertips are behind, your fingers are in front or behind, what happens is that quite often our body will start to stabilize from somewhere else. So what a lot of women do is they clench from the top. So they clench from the top like this, and this puts their pelvis into a really odd position. So what we want to do is we want to release the top of your body, give it a shake off. Good. Find that neutral pelvis. Relax your glutes. The next thing now is to find the position for your rib cage. Now remember when we were on the floor, I said that what happens quite often during when we're pregnant is that our rib cage starts to thrust forward to make room for the baby to come out the front. And what happens postnatally is that we never bring it back again. So we get stuck with this really high arch in our back, which creates loads of pressure on our spine, which in turn creates pain in our spine, lower back pain. So what we want to do is the same as we did on the floor. We want to bring our rib cage back over our pelvis. So we're going to place our fingertips in the bottom of our thumbs in the bottom of our rib cage, fingertips on top of our ASS bone, and just line them back up again. Good. You can also place your hands around your rib cage and just slide them down, and you should be able to easily slide between one and the other. If I thrust forward, I'd have to be like I was sliding round the corner to get here. So we want to make sure everything's just nicely lined up. Okay, shoulders. We want to make sure that our shoulders are relaxed, so we're not pulling them back, because this creates tension across the back of our back into the top of our back area. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull our shoulders up towards our ears and then just drop them down. Do it again. Pull it up, hold it up for a minute, and drop them down. Finally, we want to make sure that our head is placed nicely on top of our neck, so that we've not got this leaning forward position that we get from texting, driving, etc. We want to imagine, therefore, that we're listening to a conversation behind us. We're in a busy restaurant, and we're trying to listen to a conversation without the people knowing that we're listening to the conversation. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to pull it back so that your chin comes in towards your chest. You want to keep your eyes gazing towards the horizon, and it's just a very gentle drawing back. You should feel a little bit of light tension up the back of your neck, no more. Good. So we've done feet, hip distance apart, nice and spread out, supporting you. Soft knees, so we're not hyperextending behind us. Neutral pelvis, rib cage stacked, shoulders relaxed, listening to that conversation, eye line horizontal. The next and last two parts of this puzzle, we're going to think about dropping our coccyx towards the floor at the same time as lengthening through the crown of our head. So it's as if somebody's got a string at the bottom of our spine and is pulling one way and somebody's pulling the other way. So we're lengthening all the way through those vertebrae, just giving them a bit more space. Excellent. So this is our nice standing alignment. To recap, we've looked at supine alignment, lying flat on the floor, with our knees bent and thinking about the pelvic clock and the lordosis in our spine, so thinking about our spaces and masses. We've looked at sitting, and we've looked at how important it is for you to sit on your sits bones and not roll back into your sacrum because of the irritation that can create within your bladder and the movement. You know, especially early postnatally, when the ligaments are still quite relaxed with the relaxant through your system. We've looked at making sure that your shoulders are balanced equally on top of your pelvis. We've looked at soft knees. We've looked at the importance for your feet, and we've looked at the importance of your head position. It's also super important to keep your jaw as relaxed as possible as well when we're doing when we're doing all the stuff in hyperpressives. And I'll tell you why. So if, for example, now, if you think about tightening your pelvic floor, so just do a Kegel right now. So try and do one of those Kegels or a pelvic floor lift, and then feel what happens to your tongue. So if you do a Kegel, what you will feel happening is that your tongue will draw back the way. You feel it? So there's a connection between what goes on in your jaw and what goes on in your pelvic floor. So here's a little life hack. If you have to pick up something heavy, say your toddler, and you have pelvic floor dysfunction and you're worried about your pelvis or your prolapse, what you can do is you can take the tip of your tongue and push it to the roof of your mouth. And that helps to stabilize inside your pelvis. It helps to tighten everything a little bit. But when we're doing these exercises, and when you're doing anything to do with your pelvic floor where we want it to have a reflexive movement, which we'll be doing later on in the next modules, we want to make sure this is super, super relaxed. I hope you've enjoyed this module, and I hope you've got some pointers to take away from it. I look forward to seeing you in the next module. where we'll be looking at lateral breath. Take care. Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to have a look at Demeter, which is the supine pose lying down. And we're going to look at it with lateral breathing, and we're going to visit all the active stretching that we do. So we're going to come to lying down on our backs with our knees bent and our feet flat on the floor. So from here, I would like you first of all to check in with your head position. So we're going to start with from our head down. Now, if we take our hands behind our neck and slide our hands up towards the bony protrusion there, which is your occipital bone, what I'd like you to do is just feel, first of all, that you're lengthening or drawing that away from the rest of your body. So you should feel a little bit of a stretch up through your spine. Then from here, I'd like you to place that occiput bone on the floor. Now, if when you come to do this, you feel that you're looking over the top of your head a little or towards the corners of your room instead of directly up in front of you, then grab a block or a book or a cushion and pop it underneath your head. And this should take you to the position that we're looking for. Okay, so once you find that position and that feel this as well, is to feel like your sacrum, so your coccyx and your sacrum down the bottom, feel like they're pulling one way through your legs, and this head, and then use your actual hands to feel like you're drawing the occiput bone away. So you're not bringing your chin in towards your chest. You're still looking straight up towards the ceiling, but pulling the occiput bone away. So you're really feeling this length through your spine. And when I say in all the poses, lengthen, this is what I'm looking for. This feeling of really working these extensor muscles. So placing the back of your head on the floor. Excellent. Now we want to find the back of our rib cage nice and heavy on the floor. And we're looking for the whole rib cage to be on the floor, not just the upper portion. So make sure that the lower portion is as close to the floor as you can get it. Then I want to find our neutral pelvis. So keeping the head and the rib cage where they are, we're going to rock through our pelvis, finding our 6 o'clock. We might arch our back when we find our 6 o'clock. At our 12 o'clock, we might find we bring our rib cage to the floor a little bit more. And then find the middle of your clock face. So now we should feel that active stretch here. We should feel that active lengthening down towards the floor of the thoracic spine from our rib cage. And we should feel our pelvis nice and neutral. Then from here, we're going to take our feet, and we're going to take our feet so that we can comfortably dorsiflex them. Now you see what I did there? I actually took a step with my feet a little bit further away from my body, because if I try to dorsiflex here, I'll find it's really tight and might get sore in my shins. So I'm going to take my feet a little bit further away. So it's like a 45-degree angle in your legs. I'm going to place my feet on the floor for a moment. Now remember, we're actively stretching from our head, and then we're going to pull our feet up until you start to feel muscles starting to work. We're not pulling them up so hard that we start to really feel that we want to tilt our pelvis or this is going to shift. We want to keep this neutral spine, but draw up so that we're starting to actively stretch the posterior chain in our body. Knees are still hip distance apart. Okay, so we've started this active stretch through the body here. Now what I'd like you to think about here is I'd like you to think about as if you're holding a little ball between your knees. So if you're not squeezing it in, so the knees aren't moving in, you're just feeling like you're holding something. It could be a book, you could think about anything you like that you're holding in place. And if you'd like to grab something to use when you're practicing this to start with, so you can feel that engagement here, so we're looking for engagement here of the adductor muscles. These adductor muscles here feed directly into the obliques feed into the rib cage, and they also pass directly through your pelvic floor through fascia connections. So it goes muscle, fascia, muscle. Okay, although there is some argument that muscle is also fascia. So we are also, now we're engaging. So we're drawing back with our feet. We're holding this little ball between our knees. Now, keeping your pelvis neutral, I'd like you to feel like you're squishing little marshmallows underneath your heels. So squish those marshmallows. Now to add a little bit more, I'd like you to feel like you're dragging your heels back towards your sit bones just enough so you can feel your muscles lighting up a bit more. We don't want to be pulling back so hard that we start to arch our spine. So we always want to be really aware of keeping this beautiful, long, lengthened spine. Okay, so let's run through that again very quickly. Feet back down. We are actively stretching, so we're thinking about lifting or stretching our head away from our body, keeping our eyes looking straight up towards the ceiling. We're dorsiflexing our feet, our sacrum is drawing away from our head. We're pressing little marshmallows underneath our heels and we're drawing back towards our sit bones. We're holding a little bowl between our knees. Then we're going to add our arms. So for the first one, I'd like you to add your arms so your palms are facing up towards the ceiling. Hands are in a kind of downwards V position. They can be on the floor if it's too much for you to hold them up. I'd love you to pull your shoulder blades together behind you and then feel like you're pulling them down and spreading them out towards the sides. So now we're actively stretching through our shoulder girdle. To add to this, I'd like you to think about reaching out through your little finger. So we're continuing that active stretch away from our body. Okay, here we're going to do 3 nice slow breaths using our lateral breathing. Nice deep slow breaths in. So remember, lateral breathing, rib cage is opening from the lower ribs especially first. Feel the back of your rib cage on the floor on the inhale and the exhale. Take a nice deep breath in, inhaling. As you exhale, feel that lengthening in your spine. Inhale, open your ribs wide. Exhale, lengthen the spine and actively stretch through your body. Good. Inhale again. And exhale. Now we're going to twist our hands. So we're twisting our wrists towards the floor, our palms towards the floor, and our elbows. And then we're going to keep pressing out through those shoulder blades. So we've still got that active stretch through the shoulders as we point our fingertips in towards each other. Again here, I'd like you to think about stretching out all the time through your elbows. Feel like we want to pull our fingers apart from each other, even though they want to draw in towards the center. So here, we want to again make sure we're not resting our hands on our pelvis, that our hands are actively working in our arms. Feel that stretch from your head to your sacrum, dorsiflexing the feet, squishing the marshmallows, holding the bowl, drawing the heels back towards you. 3 breaths here, ready to inhale. Take a nice deep breath in, inhaling. And exhaling, lengthen. Inhaling. And lengthen. Inhaling. And lengthen. Now take your hands out towards the side in a T. Good, excellent. Again, they can be on the floor if this is too much for you to hold them up, but I prefer them to be up off the floor. We want to bring our shoulder blades in towards each other again and then slide them down and out towards the sides. Good, reach out through your fingers. You've got this active stretch. Perfect. Check in with your head, lengthen your head away from your body, your sacrum in the opposite direction. Rib cage is heavy on the floor, drawing back with those heels, pressing those marshmallows, holding that little ball between your knees. Relax your face, relax your jaw, ready to inhale. Exhale, lengthen. Inhale. Exhale, lengthen. Inhale, ribcage on the floor. Exhale, lengthen. Then rotate our hands and bring them into our second position. Again here, feel those shoulder blades opening. Press out through your elbows. Fingertips want to draw together, but we're pulling them apart. We've created this beautiful circle shape, yeah? Lengthen, ready to inhale. Inhale, widen the ribs. Exhale, lengthen. Inhale, widen the ribs. Exhale, lengthen the spine and across the shoulders. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale. From here, we're going to take our hands to a high V. Excellent. So again, in this position here, you want to take it to where it's comfortable for you. So if this is too much up here for you and you start to pop your ribcage off the floor, we want to make sure we're keeping our ribcage on the floor. So what you can do is you can start to bring your hands up from your T position and slowly bring them up, bring them up, bring them up, bring them up, bring them up until where it's comfortable for you. So for me, this is great here, but this may not be what's great for you. So feel what's good for you. Again, here, shoulders are opening, so you can pull them together and then spread them wide. Lengthen out through your fingers, always lengthening. Lengthen from your head, lengthen from your coccyx. Pull back with those heels to lengthen the posterior chain. Ready to inhale. Take a nice deep breath in, widen the ribs. Exhale, lengthen everywhere. Inhale. Exhale, lengthen. Inhale. Exhale, lengthen. Then we're going to rotate our hands and bring them into our third position. And this may be a little bit in front of your forehead here. For me, it's comfortable here. My ribcage is still on the floor. So you're looking for your ribcage to be on the floor. Opening through your shoulder blades, pushing out through your arms, ready to inhale. Nice deep breath. Exhale, lengthen everywhere. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And shake it off. Really well done. So that was Demeter, looking at our active stretching and looking at adding our lateral breathing in with it. You can see how much work is going on here already. I hope you've enjoyed this one and enjoyed doing this with me, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.
Hello, my name is Lisa and I am 41 years old. I came to Philippa's program when I was in desperate need of help. I experienced a grade 2 cystocele and a grade 2 rectocele after the birth of my fourth baby. I was holding him in the kitchen and I just felt this sinking drop feeling, and that changed my life from that point forward. Many of us have probably experienced who have had prolapse. You go to the doctors and they say, well, wait and see, finish breastfeeding and it might get better or it might not, and then we can go from there. And that just was the most horrible experience of my life. I was in so much discomfort that I felt like I couldn't enjoy my baby. I couldn't wear him anymore. I couldn't take care of my other 3 children. I just felt like this cannot be my life. I love how Philippa's story was so positive. How it was the first story I'd heard where somebody who had a cystocele and a rectocele who actually healed it naturally. I was so happy when I found that, oh my God, I can actually maybe do this. Maybe my story could be like Philippa's. I just jumped right in. Started off with the Hyperpressives, and in the end, what I found would really be helpful for me was the block therapy that's on there, the myofascial scar tissue release, which I did online and then also was able to find people locally to help me. I love the Feldenkrais and all the meditation and mindset that was required, mindset resets that was required to get me out of that very, very vulnerable space of feeling complete hopelessness. The best thing that I actually really loved about this program was that one-on-one feedback that I got that's available. That was key for me. I had seen other programs, but that wasn't a part of it. That's why I thought, no, this is the one for me, because I can actually speak to the teachers. And I was able to have a one-on-one with Abby Lord, who's the hyperpressive teacher. And I thought I was going to be learning about posture and hyperpressives, but she was just the most caring person. And I had such a beautiful experience with her. And we spoke more about mindset and what I could do to help myself. And that was just such a beautiful experience and really changed and transformed, I believe, from that point on, how I am feeling today. So if I scored myself how I'm feeling today, and I am almost halfway through the 12-week program, beginning at a 12 out of 10, extreme discomfort, to today where I am achieving days where I'm at like a 2 or a 3 out of 10, where I will have slow periods of time where I'm like, oh my God, I forgot for a minute. That means that I wasn't symptomatic for a short period of time. I felt everything closing up and tightening, so I didn't feel so open. Everything was going to fall out. And that just sort of happened really slowly. Like some of the people I have seen who's gone through the program before, where they're like, it was 5 minutes a day. And then it would be like a day where I didn't feel very much. So I'm actually experiencing that already, and I'm blown away. So if there's anybody out there who's on the fence about giving this program a go, you've got nothing to lose. If you just put the trust into these new ways of thinking, these new methods, the hyperpressives, which are absolutely incredible for making you feel like tight again. And I achieved this in a mind-blowing short period of time, which I just didn't believe would be possible, from where I was in May to how I am today. I'm really starting to believe that I'm going to heal this completely holistically if I just keep going. Because I think to myself, well, where am I going to be at the end of the program? If I'm so good right now, and have been able to live my life vertically, where am I going to be at the end? And where am I going to be in 6 months' time? When I started, that all felt really hopeless. I thought I would be bedridden and crying every day, as I was just a crying mess, to today where I'm back to feeling joy again. It's still hard. I still have moments, but again, that's clearly explained, where healing is a journey. And now I am finally believing in that journey where I will heal. It's just going to take time. And this program is what set me into that right mindset and that right space. So I'm so, so grateful for Philippa, for Abby, and all of the Moonrise team who have put this together.